Hi, I'm Matt from eSpares. In this video, I'll show you how to replace a motor capacitor on a Miele Tumble dryer. If your drum is not turning during a cycle, but it is free when turned by hand, or you can hear a low humming noise coming from inside the tumble dryer, then it is likely that the motor capacitor has failed and it needs to be replaced. Safety first, always disconnect an appliance before carrying out any work. The next thing that I need to do is to remove the top of the appliance by undoing the 2 screws at the back and 2 at the side using a Torx head screwdriver. Now for this fix, I'm just going to be using an ice tray to segregate the various screws, as there's quite a few screws coming out on this fix. And that way, when I put the machine back together, I know which screws have come from which area. With all the screws removed from the top, I can now slide it back and lift it away. You have to be careful with this particular top, as there are these 2 brackets on the back which may fall into the machine, but they're fairly large, so you should be able to retrieve them quite easily. Next, I need to remove the door and the hinge, so I just press the door release, and then there's just 2 Torx screws holding the hinge and door in place, so just unscrew those and lift the door and hinge away. With the door now out of the way, the next thing I need to do is to remove this front panel. First, I simply lift up the control panel and rest that on the top of the tumble dryer. Now I can access these 2 screws at the top and also undo all the screws around the door opening. With all the screws removed, I can now lift up the front panel and move it out of the way. With the front panel removed, we can now get to the screws holding this side panel in place. There's 3 at the front, 2 at the top and 3 at the back. It's worth pointing out that these 2 screws at the back are slightly different from all the other screws, as they have to go through a metal plate as well. So do remember to keep these 2 separate from the others. To remove the side panel, there is a lip underneath the side panel that just holds it in place underneath the tumble dryer. So I'm just going to gently lift the tumble dryer, and that releases the side panel, and then I can move it out of the way. With the side panel out of the way, here we can see our motor capacitor. Now, tumble dryer motor capacitors shouldn't hold a charge, so you shouldn't get a shock by touching it, but just to be safe, what I've done is grab a pair of insulated pliers. Obviously keeping your hands on the insulated part, simply press the metal prongs across the electrical terminals of the capacitor, and this will disperse any charge that may be in the capacitor, but as we say, there shouldn't be any charge in there at all. Now I've done that, I can remove the electrical connections, like so. Now that's done, what I'm going to do is use a pair of pliers to unscrew the single nut that holds the capacitor in place, and just holding the capacitor while I do that to make the job a little easier. With the capacitor removed, I can grab my new one, and then I can screw that into position. Using a pair of pliers at the end just to tighten the nut fully. With the capacitor screwed into position, I can now refit the electrical connections and refit this side panel. It's worth mentioning when refitting the side panel that there is a little ridge at the bottom of the side panel which needs to be fitted underneath the tumble dryer before the rest of the panel is fitted, and you might need to lift the tumble dryer to do this. With the side panel in place, I can now refit the front panel. When replacing the door lock screws, Make sure you tighten these as far as they will go. That helps the door lock to protrude, meaning you can lock the door easily and securely. Now that the front panel is screwed back into position, I can replace the control panel before refitting the hinge and door. Now that the door is fitted, I'm just going to close it so I can test the door release button. Lovely. Now that's working fine. All I need to do is to replace the top of the tumble dryer. So there we have it, one new motor capacitor fitted to this Miele Tumble dryer. Remember, spares and accessories for all the appliances around your home can be found on the eSpares website. Thanks for watching.